Next up, let's look at another classification of nouns. Let's look at the difference between countable and uncountable nouns. Most nouns, not all, but most, are either countable or uncountable. The difference between them is what it sounds like. You just use common sense. Countable nouns identify substantives which can be quantified, at least hypothetically. They can be counted. We also call countable nouns count nouns. Giraffes, gas stations, memories, performances, these are all things that can be counted, so they're considered countable nouns. Countable nouns have a singular and a plural form. They can be made singular or plural. Uncountable nouns, on the other hand, they identify substantives which cannot really be enumerated. Okay, these, even hypothetically. We also call these mass nouns. These are nouns like knowledge, furniture, tennis, heavy metal. These are things that we cannot really count. We don't really talk about knowledges, furnitures, tennises, that sort of thing. These are just concepts that don't really have multiples of them. Uncountable nouns do not have a plural form without changing the meaning of the noun itself, as I'm going to talk about here in a second. Some nouns can be either countable or uncountable depending on how they're used. So you really have to examine what they're doing in the sentence. When referring to a general concept of which there is only the whole, then it's an uncountable noun. However, when you're referring to specific forms, varieties, or measures of that concept, then it can be a countable noun. Here's an example, the noun war. War can be either countable or uncountable, but depending on how it's used in the sentence. Let's take a look at this one here. War is hell. War here is an uncountable noun. It's referring to the general concept of prolonged armed conflict, just war as a concept. In this sentence, on the other hand, the United States fought 2 wars against Britain. Here, war is a countable noun. Okay, because it's talking about specific engagements, specific instances of the whole concept of war. So here's an example. That's just an example of how nouns can be uncountable or countable depending on how they're used. Here are some additional examples to help you further distinguish countable from uncountable nouns. First of all, in this left column, uncountable, we have the sentence, football is the most popular sport in the United States. Here, football is an uncountable noun because it's talking about the general sport, the concept of football. We can also make it a countable noun simply by referring to the thing. Benjamin threw the football to Maxine. Here's another example. I wish I had more space in my classroom. Here, space is an uncountable noun because it's just the concept of having more room. We can make space countable. I wish I had more spaces to hang student memorabilia. Here's another example. The main skill that will help you in life is intelligence. Okay? Intelligence is an uncountable noun here because it's just talking about the concept of intelligence. However, we can make it plural if we talk about specific varieties of intelligence. In 1983, Howard Gardner theorized that there were in fact multiple intelligences. In other words, multiple different types of intelligence, that sort of thing. Okay? A simple test to determine whether a noun in a sentence is countable or uncountable is simply to put a number to it. If it is plural already, then it's countable. We don't have to put a number to it. We know it can take numbers if it's already plural. If that noun is written in the singular and you're trying to determine if it is in fact countable or uncountable, try making the noun plural. If it has a plural form and the meaning of the word doesn't change, then it's countable. Let's take a look at an example. Since the weaker varieties persist, so does vulnerability to disease. In this sentence, the noun varieties, well, it's already plural, so it's got to be countable. Since plural nouns are multiple substantives, then it's got to be countable because there can be more than one. Let's take a look at another example here. There is no disadvantage in this case to economize on file size. Disadvantage, is this countable or uncountable? Let's see. It's singular, so we need to try making it plural. We could say 6 disadvantages. That makes sense. So the plural form is okay. We're not changing the meaning of the sentence. So disadvantage here is a countable noun. Here's another example. We have heard a lot recently about the need for consensus, social harmony, and civility. Let's take a look at the noun harmony. Noun is singular, so we need to try and make it plural. We could say 23 harmonies. That makes sense. So the plural form's okay, but we notice that the meaning has changed. Multiple harmonies, that's like referring to music. That's not really referring to the state of peace, that sort of thing, which the sentence is referring to. So harmony, as it's used in this sentence, is an example of an uncountable noun here. All right, go ahead and take a look at the next exercise, which asks you to distinguish countable from uncountable nouns, and please use this method that I've just kind of shown you here. Check whether or not it's plural already. If it's singular, try adding a number to it and making it plural, and if it fits, try seeing if the meaning has changed.